I was deaf most of my life. Academics was new to me in my 50s. I'd worked in libraries as a clerk, so I knew something about research. But being deaf, I was never able to follow lectures until somebody taught me sign language, which for mysterious reasons had been shortchanged of me, given my father's prominence in public education. City of Pittsburgh is a strange place, but learning about academics and being a student in good standing for 4 years at the community college, I unearthed a number of hidden transcripts. Unearthing another hidden transcript now with the discovery that my film project's identification of Fayum as a counterfeiting den that gave birth to the era of the great dictators in coordination with the Hollywood studio mogul systems, has taken another turn with the discovery that Harlem Renaissance had scholars, a group of intellectual influencers working not only with the Gurdjieff Society, whose suspicions about whom have been raised before by me, but also the Italian futurists, who were the early writings of what became the fascist movement. This comes out of Harlem Renaissance. Now, I'd like to introduce a concept from linguistic anthropology. It's called code switching. It's not that code switching is inherently abnormal. Children go from talking one way among their friends to one way among adults. It can be and was where I grew up in an Israeli neighborhood, cruelly manipulated through threats and predatory and malicious ganging up on a person's self-image who wasn't a Jew. I saw a film that horrified me of a young boy in interrogation in Israel who was being convinced that he'd thrown a rock when he hadn't. And he recognized the desire to throw a rock on his part. And he was beating himself up because he couldn't understand, he couldn't remember anything that they could interrogate him about, but he knew that in sympathy he was guilty of wanting to throw a rock at them. And this nomenclature of things like code switching can only be learned in schools. It's not something that, unless you're intuitively inclined to follow your instincts in personal development and encouraged to do so, it's unlikely that you'll strike upon a concept like that knowledgeably without genuine work and study in linguistic anthropology. So, what I'm saying is there's nothing, we talk about a global village, but as a caseworker of mine pointed out, we then invent languages as calling immigrants aliens. So when you look at the human rights movement, which Martin Luther King was an espouser of, and you look at the civil rights movement, there's a code switching that goes on between nativism and materialism and the basic decencies of the human society. So the question has come to my mind with the discovery that the Green Party was manipulating the codes of race to deceive. What is the hidden transcript in this manipulation of racism, where a person can come down in one vernacular of the global village, the dignity of a person of a different race than them, and then come down in another vernacular as promoter of siege mentality when it comes to white power, or black power unity when it comes to militancy. And I discovered that the gripping cultural entity of the Gurdjieff Society, who appear to have been collaborators in World War II in occupied France, had acolytes in the Harlem Renaissance. I learned this from the Harlem Renaissance Reader. And the only scholarship I could find is a very productive work of scholarship from Wonders of Wonders, the University of Mississippi. So I've known for a long time that we are up against Hollywood. Hollywood puts on code switching they call representational theater, playing role playing. And guerrilla theater is, contrary to the legend, not inherently nonviolent. So when it comes to hidden transcripts and their manipulation, there are theatrical entities at large, and the Green Party is one of them. The book from the University of Mississippi is called To Make a New Race, and of course, this is from the 20s, so predates the super race. This was Ouspensky's idea of a fourth dimensional Superman, but it became the Ubermensch mentality. And, you know, the disgusto stuff about a master race, I mean, who would imagine that horrible old Hitler as a master race? I have no idea. But, and then subhumans. Who could imagine wonderful, gorgeous, wholesome, lovely Jewish people as subhuman? I have absolutely no idea. I've never been able to make sense of that. So what they did was they coded it to be inclusive in a new moral language about, well, you guessed it, sex. So this is now the good kind of black people get into the arc of colors. And there's plenty of evidence that this went on. I've researched it. That's been an old unearthed hidden transcript, as they say in linguistic anthropology. But the new hidden transcript ties the Gurdjieff Society to the Italian futurists by way of the Harlem Renaissance. I want to call your attention to a couple of things. One, this is the first time I've ever seen the Gurdjieff Society so decidedly tied to the Italian futurists by anyone other than me. Two, it took place through the Harlem Renaissance Society. That's very interesting, and it's going to be difficult to work into such studies as the role of Star Trek figures in John Wayne movies to promote the Vietnam War. But it's very important that this work be done.